Hello everybody. I'm going to do a short little video to talk to you a little bit about drawing and what I use for drawing with pencil, because I've gotten a few emails from people inquiring about that. There's a little bit of noise here. Oh, that's better. So I prefer to work primarily with 2B pencil, and there are different brands, although the Faber-Castell is one of my favorites. I also like the Staedtler brand. This is a Dick Blick Studio General pencil, and I'm not sure which brand this is, but this is a 2B pencil. So one thing about drawing with pencil, in case you're not familiar with it, sort of works like, if you remember geometry, where we have the negatives and the positives and a zero in the middle. So in the middle, you'll sort of, you have your HB, okay? And then from here, you'll have 2H, 4H, 6H, and so on. You also have F's, etc. The most common ones are the H's and the B's, so those are the ones I'm going to be speaking about. And so here you have the same thing going this way. And let me see if I can get closer. So a lot of people think that when they want to be drawing lighter, they want to go in the H, because the H is lighter. Your 6Bs, all your Bs are going to be a little bit thicker and more powdery. The problem though, see here's a 4H, I'm going to sharpen it a little bit. The problem with working with these is they are very fine and nice if you want to not push on it too hard, but people tend to push very hard with it, and it doesn't get you any darker, but it does damage the paper. So as I'm touching it right here, I could see that there's an indentation in the paper. So you think about paper as though it is fibrous, because it is, and if we push down too hard, it kind of damages it. And that's why when we erase, you know, you can still see it. You can still, I don't know if you can see it, but I can see those 3 lines. When you work, say, with a 6B, like this one, let me sharpen this one. And also, by the way, I recommend like a good sharpener. This one's all dirty, but it is a good one. It is Staedtler brand. So the thing with something like a 6B is I can make a tiny mark and see how much darker it is. So where's my 4H? You see? So as long as you're not pushing very hard with them, you know, and I only need to push a little bit more with that one, and it'll make a nice mark. And you can see that it was right there, and you can't, not that one, but this one right here, you can't really see it. So you can think about H's as being, the lead is very, very, very tight, and so because it's so tight, it can damage your paper, almost as like drawing with a nail. You know, it's just really tight. Whereas as you go on with the B's, here's a 2B, here's a 4B, and here's a very sharpened 6B. So it's going to actually look a little different, but the lead spreads easier. So when you're shading, you know, you can use this. Now here's the other thing though. Sometimes people will start, say, with like a 4H, you know, and they'll start shading with this, and then, you know, spend a lot of time with it, and then go onto it with a 4B. Can you tell? Can you see like how you can see some of the little underneath lines of that H? I hope you can, because that's really what I'm wanting to show you more than anything. There's little white lines right there, and I didn't push hard with my H at all, just lightly. So I never mix. Well, I really don't even work with the H's at all. I have them around the studio so people can experiment with them and learn about them. But, you know, they just don't, to me, they don't combine well, the B's with the H's. And generally, I prefer to work just with a straight 2B. And what I always tell my students is, if you can draw with a 2B, then you're good to go with any pencil, because you really learn how to control, you know, the kind of pressure that you're putting on your pencil. And you can see here on my little chart here, the HB is right next to the 2B. These two are quite similar. However, the 2H and the HB is not similar at all. You know, this is not so tight. I mean, not so similar, very tight. And then these are more similar. So work with an HB, preferably with a 2B. In the college courses I teach, I only allow students to use the 2B. All right, so I'll be using a 2B right now for this little lesson. I'll also wanted to talk about these pencils. These are great because such a fine point. You just cannot, I mean, look at that. It's a huge difference. So these are really nice for details. I don't use them much just because most of my work is not very detailed, but I wouldn't be without one. Your kneaded eraser. This is all crumbled up, two different ones in one, and this one, that's the part of the yellow one that's a little bit dirtier. These are really great to have for adding light, shading, etc. A regular eraser, and then a little smudge stick, which I don't have, but I can use a piece of this napkin and roll it up, or two, if I want it to be a little bit harder, I can just roll up a little piece of, you know, this nice Bristol paper. So there, I just rolled it up so I can use this for shading. That's all that a tortillon is. It's just rolled up paper, which, by the way, if you have a tortillon, you know, and it kind of looks like this, but it's harder paper, you know, so it's a little bit easier because this one will bend. But if you don't know what to do with them once they get, you know, like all icky like this, what you do with them is you take a piece of sandpaper and just kind of sharpen it. They actually sell you know, a little piece of wood like this, and it has a piece of sandpaper on it, but you can just buy from your local hardware store, you can buy some sandpaper and sharpen that, which, by the way, sometimes it's helpful too to sharpen your pencil like that, or sometimes, because I don't want to sharpen it all the way, because every time that you sharpen it, you know, you're getting all these bits and pieces off, and maybe you didn't want it to be sharpened so much, maybe you just wanted the tip. So you can use an X-Acto knife or a single edge razor blade and just kind of sharpen the tip of your pencil like that. Okay, so now in using your pencil, what I recommend, if you know, like let's say this is your pencil tip right here, and you've sharpened it to a point like that, what you want to do is wear down the tip a little bit so it looks more like a lipstick tip, like this. Okay, like that. So that's what, ooh, can't find the camera. That's what I've done with this one. Well, maybe not, just a tiny bit. But that's what I would do before I start really drawing, is I'd wear it down. Usually I do it on the edge of my paper, so it's a little bit worn down like that. And all this part is what you use to do your shading with and do your preliminary sketch with. And this part is what you use for detail. Okay, so again, thinking of your paper as it is, fibrous. If we were to look at it under a magnifying glass or a loop, you would see, you know, these fibers kind of connecting, and like this, you know, like just like texture from fabric. And so when you are working with your pencil and you're doing the shading, you want all of the lead of your pencil to fall into the nooks and crannies of the paper, not just to be on top, you know, unless of course you want light to show through. And the light that's showing through is not light coming from above, it's light coming from below, from your white paper. Of course it'd be different if you work with colored paper, right? But since most of the time we work on white paper, that's how that works. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly talk about shading. So if I'm doing one of my females, I always start with like an upside down egg, and I just kind of sketch it out very loosely. Again, I'm using the 2B, and then I'll go into what I showed you in my charcoal video, you know, just doing the eyes and everything very loosely. So a mistake that people make often is they start really tight, like overworking one area. And if you have a mistake there, then you have to erase everything and start over, because usually one thing is off, it will mean something else is off. You can, as I mentioned in my other video, you can also make this line here to make sure that everything is in the middle. So if I do my lips like little circles, I want to make sure that's in the middle. My nose is being cut in half. My eyes, whether I want them close or farther apart. If I put them way to the sides, it's a little bit more anime looking. But the thing is that everything that I'm doing here is with, you know, with this part of the pencil, with my 2B. So anything that I feel that needs to be erased, I can easily erase and then, you know, go back into it, because even though there are a lot of marks on my paper, they're all quite light. They're sort of dark. Some people may say it would be very different if I were doing it with a 2H. They would be much lighter, but they would be harder to erase, as we saw, right? These are easy to erase. So here's my face coming together, and the hair, and all that. So, and I will do a hair tutorial too. Someone's asked for that, but first I wanted to go over the pencil a little bit. So here, all this has been done again with my pencil with a little bit of a lipstick tip right there. So once I have everything sort of solidified here as far as how I want to take it, then I begin with my shading. Now shading takes a long time with pencil, very different than charcoal. Okay, so you do have to think about committing time to it. Like, this is going to be a short video, but if I wanted to really shade this girl, it would take me days or a lot of hours. But what I want to show you here is that when you shade, you know, don't do this kind of scratching things. Of course, unless you're doing hair, then you could do more like that. But if I'm shading here on the face, and if I start doing this type of thing, it's going to turn out to be more sketchy, which is fine if that's what you're shooting for. But if you're shooting for something and aiming for something a little bit more realistic, you want to keep constant with your pencil, just constantly on the paper. You see, like I'm moving my pencil, I'm not picking it up off the paper. I don't do lines, I really just kind of move it in different directions. So here I'm going on a diagonal, I'm pushing a little bit harder as I go here. I don't get stuck in one place, I move around. Notice too that as you drag your hand over the pencil line, it will leave some of the grease of your hand, so as you move forward, it might be a good idea to put a piece of paper under your hand. It might still move it around, but at least it won't get the grease of your fingers and your hand on here, which just kind of makes it a, you know, a yellowy, icky thing. If you are left-handed, then that is much more of a problem because you're coming from the other side, and so you're coming over your drawing. And so it's really advisable for you to use a piece of paper. And sometimes what I have my left-handed students do is to tape the piece of paper down. That way, when you move your hand, you're not sliding it around and taking your shading off. Okay, so, well, like I said, I don't use it much. Sometimes I wish that I did, but I'm a little bit of a no-frills artist, since I tend to draw on the bus, in the metro, in bed, in the studio. And right now we're in my kitchen because it's a cold spring day. So anyway, you begin to do all your shading, and at this point I do start thinking about my shadows. Turn her upside down a little bit. And I'll put all those shadows in. Can you please get me the drawing that's on my dresser? And so I'll do all these shadows. Now, how you use the blending stick, I'm going to show you a drawing that I did where I didn't use my any kind of blending at all. Thank you. So this is a drawing that I've been working on for a few days. Let me move the camera back. And with this drawing, I have not done any kind of blending. So it just has been about my going in, excuse me, with the pencil and working all the lights and shadows. And then the next thing that I would do is take my kneaded eraser and begin to add lights in some places, etc. Now this drawing is going to be a painting, so I'll be putting paint on top of it. So I didn't do a whole lot of the blending here, and I'm still working on it. But I wanted to show you that a drawing can be done nicely, without blending. Okay. So back to this one, and I used a 2B pencil for that one too. So here I would keep pushing. Oops, let me get it back down. Keep pushing in some areas where it's dark, and just keep molding. To me, I always sort of compare drawing to working with clay, because for me it is a lot of pushing back and forth of your, almost a three-dimensional form. You're creating a three-dimensional form. Or the illusion, rather, of a two-dimensional form. Okay, so just to really quickly show you about the kneaded eraser and the blending on a pencil drawing. Okay, so let's say that I've worked this a lot more, because I would. In the interest of time, because I do want this to be a quick video, in the interest of time I'm not going to do it all, but I would shade it probably to about this point. And then I can begin to do a little bit of blending. And so again, some people do use their fingers for this, but to me, I can always tell when my students do it, which is something that I always admired about my professors in school, how they would, that they'd be able to tell what students did, and it's kind of fun that I can tell now when my students tell me, no, I didn't blend with my fingers, and I'm like, yeah, you did, and so then They tell me they have because it just has more of a yellowish quality, you know, a little bit oily when you use your fingers. And it, you know, the other thing too is it does make it harder to erase too, because you've got oil that you have to contend with. Right now, we just have dust, pencil dust to contend with. So anything that I want to erase will be easy to get off. Okay, so one of my colleagues at the college where I teach part-time, he would have people throw away their blending sticks when they'd walk in the door. Now, I understand why he would do that, because see, a lot of people misuse the blending sticks, and they'll do it like this, you know, and so all of a sudden they've overused it and you have like this cloudy looking thing. So important to know when you're using your blending sticks, always go back. And you can use a Q-tip, or like I said, I'm using, you know, this rolled up napkin. But anyway, always go back and reestablish your lights and your darks. So blending is just an aid. This is not, you know, I too, like I get students that will, you know, do something like this, and they'll do, you know, something like that, and they'll just drag that all around, and that's not going to look right. So before you blend, you should have at least 4 to 6 different values. That means 4 or 6 different levels of dark and light. Counting your darkest darks, your lightest lights will be, you know, just empty paper, and then the ones in between, your light, medium light, etc. So make sure that before you blend, you have you can count 4 to 6 different values on your paper, and then you're good to blend, you know, because otherwise you're just dragging the pencil around and you're sort of coloring with a piece of paper. And coloring is more for kindergarten, you know, where you're just, they give you like, okay, a tree, and go ahead and color it green, color it brown, and then there's no values there. So when you are drawing, at least if you want it to be slightly more realistic, slightly more three-dimensional, then you do have to establish lights and darks in your drawing. And so that's where you want to go with your shading. So I'm re-establishing my shading after I've gone over it with the paper, and then you would just continue like that, and then take your kneaded eraser to bring out lights where you want them to be. All these lights here. I go back always with my darks. Make her smile a little bit. Darker right here under her hair, because that'll show a cast shadow. And I'm going to not work on our hair right now, because I'm going to do another video and showing you how to do hair. So these are quick little videos. I don't plan them out too much. I don't plan on editing them either, because that'll enable me to do more of them. But I am open to your suggestions. Lighting perhaps is not ideal with this one. So there. you can see how I'm gradually working up her shadows. And I could go into this with some colored pencils. I could go into it with watercolor pencils, etc. But if I do that, I wouldn't be working so much with these shadows. I'd probably, because it's going to move around a little bit, so I'd probably, if it were with the Prismacolor pencils, or any kind of color pencils, but I think Prismacolor are the best. But I would just be, working with them at this point. And I'll keep going with this. The way that I work, I really much rather fill up and really work with my darks and my medium darks before I take up for the light. And some people won't work it this way, but I'm showing you my way. So I would continue with that. Oops. And again, I pick up some light. And this time, this is where I go with my blending stick and blend some of these lights with the mediums and the dark. I don't know if you can hear my stomach rumbling. It's about lunchtime. And more and more, and so on and so on. Again, drawing takes a long time. The other thing too that you could use is a brush. So you can push, I don't think I have any dry brushes here in the house. I think they're all soaking in water. But you can move some of this around with a brush, like a scumbly type of brush, not a watercolor brush, but more like an oil brush, oil painting brush. Now I'm really wishing I had my Tertullian with me, because this is not point enough to get me where I want to be. Okay, so I think the video is getting to be long enough, and you get the idea how I work back and forth with this, with my lights and my darks, pushing and pushing. And yeah, I think I could be here for the next couple of hours. Well, maybe 1 hour with the face. 1 hour with the face, 1 hour with the hair. At least. Okay, so leave me comments below. Let me know if you think this was helpful. I appreciate the feedback. And if you are in our Hermana Sagrada group on Facebook, please post your work. Love to see it. It's really cool to see work created by others, after you see my videos. Okay, so like I said, I'll keep working with this. Looking at the camera, I can see my eyes are different sizes. So just a reminder that it's really so helpful to look at your, if you're doing faces specifically, to look at them, you know, hold it up in a mirror like this, because it's going to give you the reversed image, and it can tell you so much about where you're going with it. You know, we all tend to do this where our eyes are different sizes, which it's okay. You know, because we all have different size eyes. But this thing, see how this side of the face is different than this one? So the mirror image can give you that information. Also, what I usually do with my students is I go like this and I say, okay, how is that side? Okay, so this is sort of curved. And now let's see this side. Whoa, see the difference? So this one's kind of sticking out here. So we have to curve that more and throw this, excuse me, throw this hair sort of into the background. Something's going on with it next to the eye here. Okay, so that is more even. This one's a little, no, got too thin. So maybe 2 hours to work on it. But I hope this is helpful to you and to your art and creating your things here. And I'm pointing at it here because I'm actually looking at the camera, and that's helping me figure out where I need to go into it. Okay, so it's a little bit more even. And like I said, I'll keep working with it off camera. I really hope that this is helpful to you. All right? Bye. Thank you.